So now, a word about Lebanon. Lebanon, developments in Lebanon. I mean, you have heard that, if you're Lebanese, you certainly heard that the Israeli military have closed the airspace by the Lebanese border, that they're moving troops up to the Lebanese border, or were doing so. And meanwhile, that United States of America destroyer naval vessel for the first time in what in 36 years it has docked in Beirut's port, and you may be wondering what's going on. I mean, does this herald some terrible conflagration? I mean, not since 1983, when that terrible truck bomb killed 241 Marines, well, mostly Marines, U.S. Marines in Beirut. Not since 1983 have we seen a USS, well, it's the USS Rampage that's docked, Ramage, I'm sorry, not Rampage, goodness me. The USS Ramage has docked in Beirut. Well, I mean, it's all those years, nearly 40 years since an American warship, docked in Beirut, and all this build-up on the border with Israel. Well, it's enough to make you think that something's going on. However, it is not. Do not worry about this. Do not feel bothered about this. You can worry about other things in the Middle East at the moment, but not this, because it is not an issue. Because for why? Well, first of all the Israeli build-up at the border, it's all to do with the Israel's elections, you know. I mean, it was all around election day. They do it every election day. It happens, it happens, it happens. You think back, and it happened last time Israel had an election, and the time before, and the time before that. They throw troops up to the north. They're frightened there might be something, that the Lebanese might get up to some mischief. Oh, goodness me. I mean, it's not an issue. Actually, it's not just Israel that does this kind of thing. I mean, in Iraq, they used to or they still do, close the airspace around the time of national elections. The whole country. I mean, Israel is only closing the airspace up by the Lebanese border. For Iraq, it's the entire nation, the entire country they shut down. And I remember when they used to shut it down for an age, because I remember when we used to election monitor in Iraq, we'd have to go overland. Years ago, well, not that many years ago, just a couple of years ago, we'd have to travel overland through Turkey. Usually is how we went, because there'd be no planes allowed to fly in any Iraqi airspace. So we'd travel overland, and it was quite a journey. Actually, we flew into Istanbul, then we flew to Diyarbakir, and then we used to drive from Diyarbakir across the Iraq border. It took us a while, I tell you, my goodness. And it was quite a palaver, the Turks, because the Turks don't like NGOs, non-governmental organizations, so you had to make it very clear that you were not part of an NGO. Why do they not like NGOs? They think they're sinister, I suppose. Anyway, so they would hold you up for days if you said you were an NGO at the border, and then you got into. But anyway, you got into Iraq, and you could monitor elections. So the Iraqis do the same thing as the Israelis, but more so, close airspace and so on. It's not an issue. People do it around elections. If they are nervous, there might be trouble. And the coincidence of the American ship, everybody's quite actually pleased to see an American ship in the port. Is it a coincidence that it's there exactly the same time? Actually, yes. Actually, I think so. The coincidences do happen. Okay, all right. Yes, they're America is having is toughening up a little and wants to beat the drum, but the thing about the U.S. Navy, I spoke to a senior Navy officer actually when I heard about this ship going in. He wasn't very flattering, it has to be said, about his own service. Should I tell you what he said? I mean, I should, I suppose. He said, look, our boys, we run our own foreign policy. The Navy meant. We gave Schwarzkopf a hard time. We don't necessarily do what the State Department thinks we should do. We run our own foreign policy in the U.S. Navy, he said. And we're quite cautious. I mean, in 2014, when every other government was going in to pick up civilians who were stuck there, we didn't. So we he said something so uncomplimentary. It's not true. He said, if we were going to war, we... Oh dear, should I say this? Yes, I will. He said 40% of our sailors are obese. So if we this is America, senior American saying this. So he said if we're going to launch, we might launch cruise missiles from 800 miles away. We're not going to go and sit in port if there's about to be a war. Don't worry, Lebanon, he said. We're being friendly. I mean, if they're going to fight a war, they'd be well offshore. So there's nothing to worry about at all. Now, we might have minor incidents like we've been having, goodness knows, between the Israelis and Hezbollah, and perhaps these tit-for-tat things will continue. But, just to be 110% clear, there will be no war between Israel and Lebanon, or between Israel and Hezbollah even, not a full-scale shooting war. Israel's not ready for that. Neither, I think, is Hezbollah. So, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if you're feeling a little nervous, don't sleep easy. We're not facing a problem of that kind in Lebanon. There are plenty of problems in Lebanon. The issues everybody needs to worry about. But refugees, corruption, there are problems galore. But don't worry about Israeli troops on the border. Don't worry about U.S. ships in the harbor. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. We're not going to see a shooting war at the moment, thank God. The Israeli elections are over now by the time you hear this, so no, believe me, there's not going to be a major conflagration involving Lebanon now. Thank heavens, and God bless Lebanon. May it stay that way. Okay, all right. That's another issue. But we've got one or two more. But let's pause for a moment. Thank you.